trying to teach them all lessons. Yeah.
Yo, welcome to this week's episode of Hardwood Confessions, your weekly hoop confessional where we have hoopers and sports industry professionals alike to speak the truth about basketball. My name is Tay, I'm your host, and I got a very special guest today, Mr. Taylor Statham, by way of LA. How's it going, bro?
It's good, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. And first off, before we get started, I want to say congratulations. You had your baby boy most recently, and so cheers to you on that, man.
I appreciate it, man. The biggest blessing of my life by far.
Oh, I'm sure.
Life changer.
Yeah, for sure. And so, look, for those that don't know Taylor, he's a professional athlete, has played in 12 different countries throughout his career so far, most notably in Hong Kong and the Philippines and Thailand, Indonesia. And actually, we got a chance to meet randomly in the Philippines where was with my client out there playing for the Alaska Aces, and so we met randomly, kicked it off. Great guy, and so from what I remember, you were playing a little bit of chooks to go 3-on-3, and with that being a new Olympic sports, you had a chance to represent the Philippines to try to play in the Summer Olympics in Japan that got pushed back. But yeah, like how did that come about?
It was honestly pretty random. I was out there playing in some smaller leagues just in between seasons.
Right.
And they had approached me. They kind of talked to me about it before when I was back in the States. That's kind of why I went out there. And then, yeah, they said, we're trying to make this push for the Olympics. I honestly didn't even know 3x3 was a sport at the time. I didn't understand how big it was.
Yeah.
And then I kind of just got thrown into this whirlwind of this growing sport, that's internationally played. And it was honestly one of the most fun, life-changing experiences.
Right.
We got to go to all these different countries that I never thought I'd go to. We went to Russia, France.
Yeah.
We went to Doha, so we were in the Middle East, and
wow.
It was cool, man. It was super cool the way they set it up. We had a local league, and we got to play at the malls in front of 5, 6, 7, 8 stories. Of people just surrounding the court. And then every month we would go to a new country and just try to collect points, try to win tournaments, and just get closer to that Olympic dream.
Yeah, for sure. And I also want to throw out there too, this guy's humble, but the Drew League, one of the biggest, most popular nationwide known summer league, and this guy, he's one of the top players out there amongst the NBA guys, and was selected to be on the All-Star team to go play in China, which is a big deal. And I know the guys over there at the Drew League, and so I remember them talking about you, and so that just to let you know, the reason why he got selected, he might have said it was random, but the guy can play. He can score from all 3 levels. And so he does his thing, and so you're being humble about it, but that's cool. That's who you are. But he can flat out hoop. But let me ask you a question. Where did it all get started for you? Who did the introduction for basketball? Or maybe it was a player, or you're from LA, right? So maybe that had something to do with it.
Yeah. So growing up, it was definitely my dad. My pops, he played. He loves basketball, and I just remember, growing up, I mean, as soon as I could walk, I was always trying to go to the courts with him. He was always playing down in the LA Valley.
Right.
And you know how it is, man, especially back in the 90s, it's rough, it's physical, dudes are talking smack, you got the chain neck.
Right.
So that's kind of what I grew up on. And he introduced me to the game. He coached me all the way up through high school. He's really the only trainer I've ever had.
Yeah.
But once I got to high school, college, he kind of let me do my thing, and he was just always there to help. He wasn't one of those parents who are just over the top pushing you and stuff.
Right.
But definitely my love for the game comes from watching him, the only white dude out there, killing, talking the most smack, hitting these deep 40 footers, getting to the rim.
Right.
Those are some of the best best memories I have. And, you know, just like now growing up, and even though he's older, like him, myself, and my brother, we still play in adult leagues every summer. I come home.
Right. Nice.
All my boys. So
yeah,
it hasn't stopped.
Yeah. Nice. And so, you know, like, you know, and that's cool for you to speak on. You got to, you know, go through the high school, and then from what I understand, you play a little college ball, and then got to transition to professional sports. So, you know, how was that transition? Was it something that you always knew that you wanted to do, or opportunity presented itself and you're like, yeah, let's go? Or, you know, how did that revelation come about?
As far as like going overseas?
Yeah, just playing professional, you know, after college.
Yeah. So, I mean, growing up, I always wanted to play pro.
Yeah.
And, you know, in my head, obviously I wanted to go to the NBA, but I also knew there was opportunities overseas, and I wanted to use it to travel the world and, you know, help inspire people. So like I had these thoughts, I mean, even as a young kid, I remember. Yeah. And once I got to college, I just started researching. And then, you know, I was at Cal State San Bernardino. A lot of guys go overseas. So I was just always asking questions, trying to figure out ways, you know, because I didn't understand how it all worked. And I'm like, dang, how can you just be like a Division II player in the States, and these teams overseas who have no idea, who can't see you,
right?
You know, how did they get to, you know, offering you and things like that? So I just figured out ways to like market myself. I got really lucky my first year because I'm part Filipino.
Yeah.
So I actually went to the Philippines. My boy Jahar was out there, and then he kind of just, you know, he put me on game, and he showed me how it works, you know, how to get your citizenship, this, that, the other. And then he like hooked me up with his agent. And then next thing I knew, you know, I came home, and then a month later I was flying back to play my first league. So
wow. That's amazing. So hold that thought, you know, because I want to get into that. But you know, for every part of the Hardwood Confession, we have a segment called Hooper's Confessional, where I'm gonna ask you a series of questions, and you'll get a chance to speak your truth. And this segment is sponsored by Blackwater. Sorry. Blackwater is has the power of a sports drink while maintaining its purity of water. And if you click on the link in the description below, you can get a discount on your first order. So with all that being said, you know, what does the basketball mean to you, and what has it meant to you as it pertains to, you know, from your childhood all the way up to transition into professional sports, you know, playing internationally?
Yeah, basketball is everything to me. You know, I feel like everybody has one thing that they're extremely passionate about.
Yeah.
And no matter what that is, like whether you're trying to be the biggest artist in the world, or a movie star, or, you know, be a great father, or whatever it is, it's just you're going to face all this adversity, you know? And that's what really, you know, kind of creates the person you're trying to become. And to ultimately get to that, you know, to become like a pro basketball player, you know, to reach your dreams, you have to be molded into, you know, a certain type of person. And, you know, I just feel like life wouldn't be fulfilled without chasing what you love. And, you know, it's not always going to be hard or glamorous, and it's going to take years and it's going to take so many years that are just setup years and feel like, man, maybe I should quit.
Right.
But ultimately it's that journey that, you know, creates that person who you become, and ultimately like tells your story.
Right. And so it kind of seems like basketball was like something that helped you, guide you to fulfill your dreams. What I assume, you know, either you've reached or you're, you know, almost there in terms of working within that. So, man, that's amazing to speak to. And again, I mean, you got to play in 12 different countries, and I, you know, I always go back and like, wow, this, you know, the basketball has really allowed you personally to see 12 different countries. Now, there's always ways to do that, right? You know, buy tickets, but wow, who would have known that like a basketball would have had you, you know, all over the world and whatnot. So with that being said, I mean, with you being, you know, traveling all over the world, like, you know, what was a memorable moment that you might have had, that you found yourself kind of like in awe, like wherever that may be?
There's been a bunch, but definitely like the first time I played in the Philippines.
Yeah.
I went to a very successful college where we made the NCAA tournament, 2 or 3 times, so we had a big crowd. But being in another country, like these fans are insane. Like,
right. Yeah,
there's nothing in the States you can compare them to. Not even Duke, North Carolina rivalry.
right.
They bring that kind of energy every single time.
Yeah.
So I think the very first time we were playing in Marikina, and it was like the second league. I was playing in the Dell League. And there's a lot of well-known like ex-PBA guys, a lot of PBA imports who play before their season in it. And I just remember there was no standing room. And it was so loud. Like you couldn't even hear yourself think. It was so loud.
Wow.
You're like walking in. And of course, like being an American, tall American, there's not too many in the Philippines. So everyone's just staring at you, trying to touch you, trying to grab you, take pictures with you.
Yeah.
So I just remember that feeling like, man, this is really what it's like. This is what like all those years of sacrifice were for.
Right.
And that was just like you're nervous, like no matter who you are.
Right. Yeah.
You get those butterflies. But once that ball, gets thrown up, all that goes out the window. And that's kind of when you lock in and you feel in your zone, and, you make a good play, you hear the crowd, but you make a bad play, you're going to hear the crowd.
You're going to hear it, yeah, for sure. For sure. Especially talking about a crowd like that, that's real passionate, whether it's the home team or the away team, right?
Yeah, and they couldn't, I don't know if they couldn't pronounce my name, or, Filipinos are like, they love making jokes, and like they love playing on words, right?
Yeah.
So every time I would score, like, and this was like throughout the whole league for months, every time I would score, the announcer, he's announcing the whole game, play by play.
Yeah.
He'd always go, instead of saying Taylor Statham, he'd always go, Jason Statham, transport number 2.
Of course, right? Of course. Yeah. That's funny. And so you just ran with it, huh? You're just like, you know what? I'm just gonna be transporter.
Yeah, man. So sometimes I'd see people, and they'd forget your name, and they would just always be like, "Oh, transporter."
Yeah. Even got the accent down and everything. That's tough.
Lived out there too long.
Yeah. So with you being half Filipino, I assume, or part Filipino, so obviously, one side of your family, like how did that feel, being able to, for one, to play in the country of origin from your family, or your background, and then two, going back to playing, the FIBA 3-on-3 to qualify to actually play and represent the Philippines. Like, man, speak to that. Like, what was that feeling like?
Yeah, that was honestly life-changing. I'm a 4th Filipino, and so my grandma was born there. And it was, so growing up, I'm just a white guy,
Yeah.
I'm not like too familiar with the Philippines or anything like that. She's been here since the 60s. And so it was just nice, like really being able to go to a completely different world, really learn their culture, learn how things work, pick up on good habits they have. Right. I always leave my shoes at the door now. Just like simple things like that. They use like a fork and a spoon instead of a fork and a knife.
Right.
So, and just really like understanding like where people come from, and just seeing what's out there. 'Cause we get so caught up in America, just looking at the small scope.
For sure.
And, we think things are like so terrible and so bad, but you go to the other side of the world, and some of these places where we think are like the hood, and, think your poverty are nothing compared to these places. So it really just makes you appreciate life, and just gives you a deeper understanding. And plus I think it's really cool now that I'm older, and I speak a little Tagalog. So then when I meet, you'd be surprised like how many people you come across who are, Filipino or from a certain country, and just being able to speak their language a little, or, you know, talk to them about where they come from, you know, they just they light up and they feel
for sure.
like pride and joy. So
yeah, you can speak
definitely
to it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, especially like my girl's from, you know, she's 100% American, but she's 100% Filipino. Like her mom and dad are from there. She grew up in the Bay, but you know, it's nice going to their family parties and stuff and being able to, you know, have stuff to talk about with the older people. And you know, I'm not just completely, you know, ignorant to everything.
Yeah. So that's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And so tell me what false reality is there? And I'm gonna transition to actually playing. What false reality is there that you could speak to? What people think maybe when you're playing pro, you know, whether it be easy or hard or whatever. What is there something that you could speak to, you know, as you're kind of speaking to your boys or up and coming guys?
Shoot, because you know, this is like the second part of what I do. Like my academy is like helping guys navigate their career and really transition to new levels. So I mean, it just depends how much time you got, man, because there's a lot of false realities out there.
We'll pick one and then we'll end the segment and then we'll go back into it.
No, for sure. I just think like playing overseas, like a lot of American players think because they play in college, you know, they're great in open gyms. Maybe they put up some numbers at the school they're at. They just think it's going to be handed to them or be easy.
Right.
And playing overseas is really, you hear the word dog all the time, but you have to be a dog. Like it's not for everybody. For sure. Like you're going to go through so much adversity. You're going to be homesick. You know, your teammates aren't going to speak English.
Right.
It's going to be cold. Like you're going to have bad games where your job's on the line, like all the pressure on you. And you can't have any excuses, no matter if you get the flu, no matter if you got some broken bones, like you got to go out there, you got to tape it up and you got to put up your 20 and 10 and lead this team to a win.
Right.
But I think like the biggest false reality is just like how people get over there. Because I deal with so many people who are like, hey man, help me get overseas. And I'm like, okay, send me your highlights. I don't have highlights. I'm like, okay, send me your resume.
Right.
I don't have a resume. And I'm like, dude, how am I supposed to tell you to this team? Like when other agents are giving, you know, resumes and highlights of guys, that's their only way of seeing you. That's their only way of like sparking their interest.
Right.
So I think just like that side of professionalism, is what people really kind of sleep on. Yeah. You know, because at the end of the day, it's a job. And being a pro is like it's not college, man. Like your coach is going to be like, hey, show up on time. No, you don't show up on time. You're going home.
Right.
Like your coach ain't going to help you with your homework, you know? So if you're not getting up shots and your jumper's not falling a game or two, boom, you might be home and you get cut. You might never have a job again. So it's just a whole lot more pressure. And I just think, players coming out really need to understand that level of professionalism. Yeah.
And I was just about to say that being a true professional, and that goes both on and off the court, you know. And so, you're speaking right to it because I've seen it firsthand.
And oftentimes it's really like what you do off the court that dictates.
Yeah, for sure. That's a huge component of it, you know. Not just on the court, but off the court. Yeah. So, we're going to get back. We're going to finish that off, but I'm gonna go ahead and end this segment. And so, and that's going to go into what, you know, my next question is, you know, what's next for Taylor. And so, it sounds like, you know, you're going to transition, you know, fully at some point when you kind of retire and then playing basketball into your academy you had, your Statham Academy. And so, from what I understand, you know, you kind of help train from grassroots all the way up to college level guys that want to, you know, go pro. And so, continue to speak on, you know, that aspect of it, you know, in terms of, you know, trying to go pro and what you offer in terms of the academy.
Yeah, definitely. So like, obviously right now with everything going on, most countries are shut down. Leagues aren't really happening. So everyone thinks I retired, but most people are home right now. So I've just kind of like, especially with having a kid and just having so much time, like I put everything into this academy, and it's been growing the last, you know, 6 years. And the last like 3 years have really picked up. obviously when I was in the Philippines for a whole year,
Yeah.
things slowed down, but you know, I have let's just start with like the travel ball aspect.
Yeah.
So I started Creators around the same time I started Statham Academy.
Okay.
And I honestly didn't even want to coach. Like my dad growing up used to always tell me, man, you're going to make a great coach. Like the way you know basketball and the way you lead. And I used to hate it. And I was just like, no, bro, I'm never coaching.
Right.
But then like I broke my foot going into my senior year. A few of my guys were like transitioning to overseas, and my brother was in high school trying to get recruited. And, you know, I just started training. And then one of my best friends, Travis DeVita, came to me and said, hey, I want to start this travel ball program. Can you just help me get it off the ground?
Right.
Because like obviously where I live, there's not too many pro basketball players. And at the time I was connected with, you know, a lot of kids because my brother was playing.
Okay.
So we started it, and, you know, it just kept growing and growing and growing. And we're focused mostly on like the young kids.
Yeah.
Just like from the ground level before they get these bad habits, before, you know, attitude kicks in and stuff.
Right.
Really teaching them how to play basketball, because that's really what's lacking these days. Kids don't truly know how to play basketball until they, you know, if they ever get to like a college level.
Right.
So we just built it up. Now we have about 80 kids in our travel ball program.
Yeah.
And then as far as like the academy, the training aspect, you know, every summer it grew, and I was mostly focused on like high school kids, like serious kids, like high school, college. A couple of years now I've been training pros, and because of the quarantine, you know, not too many gyms were open.
Right.
I was going down to Watts every week and having these pro workouts.
Okay.
Because like the last few years, you know, I've helped over 40 guys get signed overseas.
Nice. Wow.
Consulted for teams, like directly like brokered deals for guys. Actually like taking guys with me, made deals where it's like, hey, I'm going to sign with you guys, but you have another import spot. Like I want you to sign this guy.
Right.
So now, you know, we had these workouts in Watts all summer, trying to really like develop guys. We had a bunch of NBA G League guys come through, Euro League guys, low level pros. Because honestly, like for me, I try to be somebody who I didn't have.
Gotcha.
So I had to like make all these mistakes navigating through, and I like barely scraped by.
Yeah.
And then when I did make it, you know, there was jobs that I should have taken, like First League Serbia, First League Finland.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was thinking, well, if I go back to Asia, I'm going to make more money. I was thinking short term instead of long term.
Instead of long, yeah.
Yeah. So now I'm just like really focused on, you know, helping high school kids get to that college level, like really bridge the gap for them. And then once they get out of college, like really show them how to make money. Because like, honestly, most overseas players aren't really making money like that.
Right. Yeah.
They'll play 6-10 months out the year, come home, and then have to get a job or be broke.
Right. Yeah.
They're not saving their money. You know, they don't know anything about financial literacy, nothing.
Right.
So that's kind of where I've made my mark, is just helping guys really navigate their careers and opening doors for them.
Wow. So that's amazing, bro. Like you're a current player while facilitating other guys' careers and developing, and developing other guys, as you know, to eventually go play pro and fulfill the dream. So that's amazing, bro. And I, from what I recall, I remember there was maybe a year ago, maybe a little longer, you did like a charity game for I think it was like a fire or something that happened in your community or something like that, if I can recall correctly. And I was sitting back because I'm on IG, you know, scrolling. I'm like, wow, you know, you're doing your thing, you know, raising money and awareness for what was going on, what was happening, like, you know. And so that just goes back to who you are as a person, man. And it makes sense, you know, why you're transitioning into, you know, helping these guys, and it's so easy for you to go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and put your IG handle down so those that are watching can follow you, and or if they have any questions, or if there's guys that, you know, that want to, you know, trying to go pro or transition, they can reach out, maybe get some guidance from you, or however that may work out.
Yeah, and I appreciate it, man. And I know I'm like I know that was like a long answer, but
no, you're good. You're good.
It's just like, man, and my hand is just like in so many things, and sometimes that's like part of the problem. Like some of my mentors are always like, man, you got to focus on like one thing. Do you want to be the skill keeper? Do you want to be an agent? And I'm like, man, I just feel like I get help in so many avenues. That's why, I try to do everything I can for these guys.
Right. I mean, but you're paying it forward because you're in it as an athlete, and the ups and downs, and so whatever you can do, and I've had these conversations with other athletes as well, for guys that want to kind of like prevent as much as they can, right? Obviously the inevitable is inevitable, but if you can at least smooth that road as much as possible, why not? And I'm sure some of these guys you have relationships with, so yeah, you want to look out, for your guys, and and see them fulfill their dream just the way that you had, and just kind of smooth out that process. So, man, that's awesome, man. You're paying it forward, man. And then now I'm sure all hoopers will appreciate that, because basketball from the NBA down is a big brotherhood. So, I'm pretty sure you're taking that same approach, and so, man, I'm excited to kind of see how your career ends up and where it's going. And I hope, man, that if you do get opportunity to finish off the FIBA 3-on-3 to possibly represent, the Philippines. And
well, I'm actually, it's funny you say that. I'm sorry to cut you off, but so I actually left the Philippines in August 2019. I was the #1 ranked player in Asia at the time.
Wow.
And I ended up coming home because I had some NBA workouts. And during that time, I was like training for the NBA, trying to get back in 5-on-5 shape, because it's two different games.
For sure.
And then an opportunity popped up to play some tournaments in LA for 3x3.
Yeah.
And I went. And then, so now I'm actually with Team USA's national team pool.
Even better, brother. Even better.
Yeah. So
I didn't even know that.
I'm like, so I'm waiting for that to like pop back up.
Yeah.
With quarantine, everything's up in the air right now.
Right. Because this was going to be the first year, right, for it to be an Olympic sport, right? 3-on-3.
Yeah.
In the Olympics, at least, yeah. Because I know it's big in Europe and in China. So that's cool. I didn't even know that. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna tap in, man. Make sure I follow you to see how that plays out. Once things kind of open back up. And so so. Look, I got one question before we conclude. Because I feel like we can keep going, but it'll be a lot to speak to. But if we were to retire your jersey today, what would be the number you would choose, and what's a nickname, either self-proclaimed or that was given to you, or maybe a mantra that you would have on the back of the jersey?
Dang. Definitely 32.
Okay.
That's my number everywhere I've gone. I don't know. Maybe just like my last name.
Run with it.
Like
transporter. We'll go with it.
I just stayed him. I don't know. I just want it. I just want my last name to have like a legacy behind it.
Yeah.
So probably just stayed him. If it was a nickname, maybe just T-Stat.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we can run with that T-Stat, but and I like that. Obviously, who you are as a person in the stadium. It makes sense because of what you have going in terms of branding and developing your guys, stuff like that. So the legacy is important, man. And so I definitely wish you nothing but the best, brother. Appreciate you coming on and catching up. I feel like I can have you back on at some point in time, man, and get into some other stuff because I feel like, the next chapter of your life is going to be a lot of detail to speak to, in terms of basketball development, and not just for other guys, but for yourself as well. And then you have your little man to develop.
Man, he's coming right behind me, man. He's up next. he's already grabbing at everything. He sees a basketball, he's like following it across the room. So
yeah, so there you have it. So that's Stadium 2.0. So so that'll go ahead and conclude this week's episode of Hardwood Confessions. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to get notified of next week's episode. Again, my name is Tay. I'm your host, and this is Hardwood Confessions, and we're out.
And a full court pressing. That's a Hardwood confession.
Here comes Chicago. 17 seconds. 17 seconds from Game 7 or from championship number 6. Jordan. Open. Chicago.